You are now entering the Take-Up, a place to gather when the film is over. I'm your host, Joshua Ray, and I'm here with my co-host, the managing editor of thetakeup.com. That's Mr. Andrew Wyatt. Hello, Mr. Andrew.
Hello.
Every episode, we decide if one film gets to enter the Take-Up's permanent cinema. This week, we've got friend of the show, guest Alex McPherson, and he has selected Edgar Wright's Hot Fuzz. We'll see if that gets to be saved forever. And then we'll have one more thing. All right, well, this was my first time watching Hot Fuzz.
It's crazy.
Is that crazy? Do you think you clock this as a Josh Ray thing? Like, this is definitely for Josh. Like, he should be on top of it. Actually, I think it was the only Edgar Wright blind spot that I have. Of course, I haven't seen The Running Man yet. His Running Man adaptation with Glenn Powell. That voice that you heard a little bit is our friend Alex McPherson of Pop Life STL. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy you're here. I'm happy that you've given us another kind of like parodic genre comedy to work with. This is a return after our Dead Don't Die episode. I think you're hoping that we like this one a little bit more.
Well, the Dead Don't Die is still a masterpiece. I'm still maintaining that. So
the M word. It's the M word for me.
I love that, like, is 100% willing to die on the hill that Dead Don't Die is a great movie. I don't agree. But I love his commitment to it.
The Alex doesn't die. All right, Alex. What's your relationship with this one? Did you see it when it came out or about that time? I know you had to have been 4 years old or something.
Yeah. Well, I guess my first Edgar Wright film was Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which I loved. But yeah, and I kind of was just getting into R-rated movies kind of early in my high school career, and Hot Fuzz was one of those gateway films for me into kind of the R-rated, more like quote unquote mature cinema landscape. But yeah, as soon as I saw Hot Fuzz, it kind of just became part of my identity as a person, and it was kind of the movie I would show to all my friends. Like on the Kirkwood cross country team, I'd be talking about it nonstop. I'd have
that's how you know it's the one, right? When you start evangelizing about it.
Yes, it's kind of like how Danny Butterman talks about Point Break and Bad Boys 2 is kind of how I talk to people about Hot Fuzz.
Well, that works for Simon Pegg's lead, and he responds really well to it. How did your friends take the Hot Fuzz recommendations?
Well, I think they really liked it, but I mean, it was more just kind of my own enjoyment of just getting a chance to watch the movie over again, because it is part of the brilliance of the movie is that it's one of those things where every single element of it connects so perfectly together that it makes it infinitely rewatchable. And all the juxtaposition and the dissonance between all these various genres that it's paying homage to kind of create this really unique, just unpredictable movie-going experience that it really played into kind of the crowd-pleasing communal experience in movie-going for me. And so, yeah, it just kind of opened the doors for just me being able to share movies with people I love, and every element of it kind of got me into looking at films on the minute level of each specific part of it, how it all connects together. So it got me into becoming a film critic as well.
That's actually really wild. I hadn't thought about Far From Heaven and this film being related in that way, but it's exactly the same way you described your love of this is how I described what Far From Heaven did for me. And they're both, I don't know. They're both approximations of a certain genre, because I don't think this, this gets tagged as parody. This is not a parody of its genres. I think
it's
it
better
loves
than
the things too much.
Yeah, better than a lot of the movies that it's parodying even, I would argue.
I would push back against that. I do think it's a parody, but I think what you're getting at there, Josh, and I think part of what's key to the success of Hot Fuzz is that it unabashedly loves the thing it is parodying. I think when parodies hate the thing they're parodying, it's really apparent and it comes off as sour and unpleasant. And you really need to love a thing top to bottom and understand its. I think what Wright does is really understand how the way a genre moves, and that is essential, I think, to accurately parodying it. Well, also, it can be both things. It can be a parody in the sense that it's sending up a subgenre or a genre, but it's also embodying that thing as perfectly as it can be.
Well, that's the thing for me, is that it really does work as a detective story, and then ultimately in its final stretch as like a police actioner. It really works as those things because they seem to really understand the filmmaking behind it. I mean, it's so key throughout the film how much they seem to be picking up like Tony Scott's aesthetic, but what they're doing is these quick like flash pan cuts to like opening doors or like opening lockers or a cup of coffee, these really mundane policing things, because he's in this really small village, best village of the year, obviously. And in kind of using that aesthetic, but to still tell a really kind of compelling story on top of that. It's not just like, okay, let's do the thing beat for beat, which is, you know, to its credit, Young Frankenstein, to its discredit, things like later scary movies. And I say later ones because like I kind of like the first scary movies. Okay, I said that quietly enough, I hope. Or date movie, those kinds. But this one has a compelling lead, has compelling characters, and has a script that works. And I'm like spewing out a bunch of things because this movie spews out a bunch of things. I kind of didn't, I hadn't seen the whole thing before. I know I hadn't. I worked at Blockbuster when this came out on DVD. It wasn't like a huge success, but it became a very quick cult movie. And I think this and Shaun of the Dead back to back, like this really sealed the deal for this trio, meaning Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and Edgar Wright. And of course, Edgar Wright as this creative force. In just a couple of years, I think Scott Pilgrim, same thing happens there. Anyway, we can get into all that. This movie is as much a giallo as it is a police action movie. You guys didn't tell me that. And you guys know that I would respond to that.
Well, unpack that. How do you see this as a giallo?
There is a literal black gloved killer conspiracy they're trying to uncover in the rural European countryside, and the amount of like blood and heads fully chopped off. I should have expected it, knowing the love that they have for horror, in particular Edgar Wright has for horror and action and genre filmmaking. I mean, it isn't the feature-length version of Don't, his Grindhouse trailer, which I think is definitely the best one. And moving like beyond the joke of the title and whatever, a movie I would definitely watch. But I really enjoyed that kind of really silly part of the film. And yeah, it was kind of a little secret to me. And when it became apparent, I was very happy about that.
Alex, you said that this was one of your like early R-rated comedies. Was this like the bloodiest, most violent film you had seen at this point? I'm always shocked about how violent this movie is every time I rewatch it.
It's so violent.
But it's like, it's violence in like the most kind of entertaining way. That sounds kind of messed up, but
I know what you mean. It's the same like Looney Tunes comment or argument that people make for Kill Bill and Kung Fu movies, but Alex, it's really grotesque. And it is, a lot of it is played for comedy, but a lot of it's actually taken pretty seriously. even though it holds on to the comedy of it, like it's not done without thought for like the experience of it, which I thought
Yeah,
was really interesting.
I mean, it's just kind of this quaint, like, bucolic town that everyone it is off. Everything is slightly off, but when that violence happens, it's just further illustrating that kind of dissonance that I think or comedic dissonance that the movie thrives on.
Well, we've already gotten into the movie, but do you mind giving us kind of the setup of what Hot Fuzz is, the narrative of the film?
Um, well, yeah, Simon Pegg plays Nicholas Angel, and he's kind of the most like prolific officer in the Met at London. So he's performing like 400% better than every other officer there. And so they like Bill Nighy and Martin Freeman and Steve Coogan just don't want to put up with it anymore. So they
I
kind of
mean,
ship him off to the countryside Sanford.
that joke is an airplane joke, but like very British and very funny. By the time they're going to bring in Chief Inspector, in my mind, I'm like, who? Bill Knight? And it is
Yeah,
definitely Bill Knight. Just
he's
waiting.
like a
for nowhere.
combination of Martin Freeman and Steve Coogan just kind of slapped together. You have Bill Nighy. But yeah, he goes there and then he's he doesn't really know what to do with himself because there's like they say there's no crime. Everything's kind of just so mundane. He's kind of going crazy, but then all these strange, very grotesque accidents, quote unquote, start happening, and he uncovers a crazy conspiracy.
And one that is so, I mean, I immediately knew the joke of Timothy Dalton's character is very funny. And the wordplay in this is very like knowing Alex, I get it. Like, I know why Alex loves this because you have the same kind of sense of humor as my husband. It's like just fucking verbal wordplay and you guys lose your minds. And it's his name is Shredder. Is that his slasher?
Or Simon Skinner.
Skinner.
Yeah.
He's slashing prices. That's right. Right. And
The
then
fact
And
the
he's a
fact that
fun
he
runner.
the fun runner. The fact that every time he pulls up in his car, there's a confessional single playing on the radio. It's to do it once is amusing. To do it every single time he's in his pulls up in that convertible is a serious commitment to the bit, and I love it.
and the bit is that he's like has this very charming but also psycho violent way of speaking to people and makes these asides that he is definitely pointing the finger at himself.
And Angel even says in the prologue, the people will confess their crimes to you like straight to your face all the time.
Right.
In the way that they talk. Like to Alex's point about how the script is so good, like it's one of those, I don't know how to describe it, but it has this Coen-esque quality where lines just keep repeating, not just from the same character, but characters pick up other characters' dialogue and repeat it back, and it gets iterated on multiple times. And it's just, I don't know what to call it. There's a name for it, but I don't have the vocabulary for it right now. But there's something really enticing about that kind of dense comedy screenwriting that I respond to really well.
Yeah, they're really great wordsmiths. And I think not only because they understand what is verbally funny, but also that it needs to come from character. Um, to pivot a little bit away from the comedy, like I also was really taken by how much of this is a bromance and how much the chemistry between those two guys is well. So I don't think we really got into that. The town constable is played by Jim Broadbent. You heard a literal cheer come from my living room when that happened, because I thought, okay, so that's either going to be Bill Nighy or Jim Broadbent, but who knew that he was being reserved for something greater? Is his son is played by Nick Frost, and he's a bumbling oaf. He's actually the first person that Angel arrests once he gets to the town for drunk driving in the most stupidest way possible. But as he turns out, he's a cop himself. But what's really sweet about it is that he really actually does want to learn and respects Angel, and the way that he immediately, like, he's asking all these questions and you think he's trying to be like an annoying, petulant child, but he's actually very curious because he respects him so much. And the point where he tells him to stop calling them traffic accidents and call them collisions, and he does immediately and starts telling people to do that, that warmed my heart in a way like, oh, guys can be cute.
And he's studying the official vocab guidelines for like the rest of the movie too.
Yes, it's so good. And that little button at the end when he's like, we're not calling him, I forgot what he says. What does he say, Alex? You know what I'm talking about.
Or it's
Police, we
something
don't call it
about, yeah,
police women.
police officers. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But the whole thing is pretty tightly scripted with all of these, what you would think of as disparate parts, play in a really neat marriage together, I thought.
Mhm.
Yeah.
'Cause
And I think your statement about the bromance is spot on. That's one thing that I've always really appreciated about it, is how genuine and uncomplicated and how no homo it is about the relationship between Angel and Danny, that Danny instantly sort of peeps him as a potential mentor figure, as somebody he respects and wants to get close to. And while Danny is a little bit, much, there's no indication that Angel dislikes him. Like he immediately sort of brings him under his wing, if only unconsciously.
Yeah, because I mean, I interpret the Nicholas Angel character as being kind of self-loathing and, I mean, deeply lonely in his own way. Like he only thinks he can have his Japanese peace lily as like his one place that he feels comfort. But kind of his bond with Danny, and especially like the movies that Danny shows him are kind of the key to unlocking that side of Angel that he has repressed. And that I think like a lot of the movie, like, I mean, it's funny how they kind of film the bureaucratic procedures and everything kind of like an action movie. It almost feels at those moments like the film is trying to break out of like kind of the mundane confines of the narrative and kind of just embrace the action movie. And it's kind of like at that point that Nicholas Angel is kind of holding the movie back from doing that. So
Well, there's a sub genre like deconstruction as well, because Angel imagines himself as like Serpico, right? He thinks that he's a super cop, but he's a solo man. He's a lone wolf. He's better than all the other men around him. And part of what the film is doing is basically shoving him into a buddy cop movie against his will, and him gradually warming to the fact that he's in a buddy cop movie and that he can thrive in that subgenre, which is fascinating. And the fact that, of course, the movies that Danny is showing him are movies about male-male relationships within the sort of action cop genre is fascinating.
And don't tell the makers of Bad Boys 2 that it's about male-male relationships. You know how aware that film is of that.
I hate Bad Boys 2, and I like this movie, so I don't know what that says about. That says a lot about Hot Fuzz, that I hate the Bad Boys 2. But when Danny shows it to him, there's a part of me that's a little bit elated.
There's a spectrum of queer homoerotic bromance that is Point Break, and on the other end is no homo Bad Boys 2. In the middle is a fine little straight bromance called Hot Fuzz.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, not that it has to be homoerotic or anything. And I'm kind of glad that, like, I'm happy that we don't need to ascribe to any kind of sexuality or anything with that, because I think we just need more like bros being friends cinema. What'd you call it? You called it something last year with, God, what was that? That Italian movie, Eight Mountains.
Oh, yep. Okay. I remember what you're talking about. It was just called Dudes Rock Cinema.
Dudes Rock Cinema.
Yeah.
This is in the dude. We'll decide shortly if it belongs in the Take Up canon, but it is definitely Dudes Rock canon. But I didn't like, so the cultural reputation of it is very bro-y to me, but it doesn't really play that way at all. I mean, a lot of it is like IMDb.com top 250 is what I thought of when I thought of Hot Fuzz. but that was really unfair to the movie, and I should have known better knowing Edgar Wright. I mean, I'm kind of hit or miss on Edgar Wright as a whole, but he's certainly a more skilled and caring filmmaker. I think I just still have a bad taste in my mouth from Last Night in Soho. Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, I still like Last Night in Soho enough, but when you just compare it to how kind of intricate and well thought out Hot Fuzz is and the whole Cornetto trilogy, it doesn't really hold up.
Well, let's talk about your relationship with Edgar Wright. What is it? Are you like a super fan because of this?
Um,
And Scott Pilgrim. You did mention that one earlier.
yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed Scott Pilgrim. I was probably too young at the time to fully grasp just how kind of twisted that movie is in
Yeah.
its own way. But I really enjoyed kind of the visual style of it. Because I just think Edgar Wright's direction is so distinct and kind of just immediately engaging. And yeah, I guess when I saw Hot Fuzz, then I immediately watched Shaun of the Dead, and then I saw World's End in theaters. And yeah, those movies are just infinitely rewatchable. But then kind of after the Cornetto trilogy, I felt like maybe just without the pairing of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, they lost a little bit of the sauce they had. I mean, I enjoy Baby Driver well enough. But yeah, it is kind of just a really important pairing of the three of them together. Just that's where the greatness is, I think.
Yeah, and it's important to note that they did work together on Spaced before that for a couple of
Yeah.
years in British television. Like they were sort of already collaborating together.
You brought up The World's End, and I like this movie more than The World's End, a film that I do like, but there's a strain of humanity in their comedy that I think is really important to point out, and I alluded to earlier, and that, you know, The World's End, if I'm remembering correctly, is a movie about sobriety and a film that really does kind of focus on the relationship between this group of friends and the distance that's grown between them, and the way that this film plays out. That's really its central conflict is like, are these two guys going to be okay? And the ultimate betrayal I felt when you think that Danny is in on the conspiracy with his father, I was like, this film just went off the fucking rails. I am so incredibly upset. I did watch this movie with the spirit of like a 16-year-old Alex, I feel. And because I was kind of like hanging on to the cool shit in it, and also like just the script of it. But it really did, like, it hurt me thinking that, and very quickly is it addressed and turned around that he is unaware. Of course he was unaware.
And it clearly
the puppet.
And it clearly hurt. I think the part that sells it is that Peg makes it clear that it hurts Angel more than anything. Like seeing Jim Broadbent's inspector there is like shocking, and the revelations about what the conspiracy was all around, that he was cataclysmically wrong about the conspiracy nature from the very beginning is shocking and sort of played deconstructively. But him seeing Danny at his, like, grab his arm, he's like, oh no, not Danny. Like of all the people to be here, not him. And you can see the betrayal on his face. That's what sells it, I think. And of course they have to walk it back, like you say, like 2 minutes later, just to make sure that we're not too.
Well, thank God they walk it back, because literally I was about to be so upset irrationally, and taking a film critic hat off, and gonna turn the fucking movie up. Nah,
yeah,
but
and of
that's
course
kind of how invested I was.
yeah, and of course it's a callback to something that happened earlier in the film too, with the ketchup packets. So it's all just very, it's just so intricately brought together.
Yeah, and for me, okay, so of course, you know, I'm gonna have some criticisms, and I think those are it. Those are kind of like perfected in a way that, you know, as you're saying, they're intricately plotted. This film, I think, is probably a little bit more messy than the way we're describing it, with the way that it treats all of these disparate elements. that it works in the end is to its ultimate credit. But for me, a lot of that, like, of course, the ketchup packet, like, it's not as, I'm gonna be bringing it up like every week forever. It's not the same as the harmony devices in One Battle After Another. That kind of very scripty device that is gonna, your Deus ex mach. What am I trying to say?
Chekhov's gun.
Chekhov's gun. Yeah, sure. I don't think it's as like expertly deployed in this, but there are those moments that are very kind of like save the cat screenwritery things that kind of keep coming back in a way that I understand why it would be studied, but it is studied like on their end too.
But is it, or is it subtly like, I can never quite tell with a film like this. Like, is it deliberately trying to be a little bit corny about the deployment of those plot points?
Okay, so like, is that a part of the parody? Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying? Like, how
Yeah.
aware of it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a really great question to ask.
The
Because
fact that they have to have Angel, like in the coda, standing in front of the grave, and for half a second you're not sure if it's Danny's or not, but we all know it's not Danny's, and like the movie seems to understand that we know it's not Danny's, so it's holding back just a little bit in how it's giving us that fake out. I don't know. I think it's ambiguous enough that I'm not 100% clear on it.
what do you think, Alex?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not 100% sure either, but for me, it kind of just contributes to just that complete entertainment value element of the movie. So
It is a very cute thing to do, and I'm not being condescending when I say it. Like, it's neat.
yeah, I mean, I think all the gags are just in service of character and kind of it being its own thing while paying homage to like 10 different genres almost.
Well, let's break those genres down. I mean, I brought up the giallo thing. Had you thought about the giallo part of it before, or am I sort of ascribing it with something that's unique to my brain?
No, I mean, you can definitely see the giallo and the slasher influences. I was thinking about like Scream a lot with what they're wearing too, in a way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think like there's a folk and cult horror
Folk horror.
vibe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like the Wicker
yeah.
Man, obviously.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, it's not literally in the text, but we can't put a British rural town guy, like conspiracy in a British rural town with guys in cloaks and invoking chants without raising the specter of that British folk horror. Like, that's almost the misdirect. Like, it implies that there's something more sinister and perhaps occulty going on, but of course it isn't. And that's, I think, I want to circle back to the violence of it, because I think what Alex brought up earlier, the dissonance of it is partly that, right, it's a comedy, but it's also like uber super gory. And some of it's like, and not even like hiding it with nighttime photography. We get a guy, impaled by a cement church
Tim
spire
Messenger.
in broad daylight, with CGI blood spurting everywhere. It's almost like anime extreme. But part of the dissonance comes not just from, oh, it's a quaint English village, but Angel's assumption, like, I think this is why the climactic twists work for me, is because Angel's assumption that it was about greed, right? And we can wrap our heads, because we lived through the 80s and 90s American like action police thriller boom. We can wrap our heads around a like greed conspiracy, developers trying to make millions on the sly, people being bumped off when they stand in the way of that. We can wrap our heads around that kind of extreme violence in the service of good old-fashioned greed. We can't quite wrap our heads around that kind of extreme violence in the service of maintaining the best village award for as long as possible. Like, that's why the twist works. It's because it's so stupid. It's that, like, the conspiracy for the dumbest thing possible is really what makes it sing, I think.
Yeah, and one thing about the violence, it's kind of when Nicholas Angel like heads back to Sanford and he's kind of becoming his own, like, the action hero within him this whole time that he's finally
turning into El
given the chance.
Mariachi. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. But it's like, it isn't mindless it isn't mindless violence on his end. If anything, it's like mindful violence because he's not actually killing anybody when he shoots them. He's just incapacitating them so he can take them to prison afterwards.
Yeah, there's very careful elaboration on everything that he has. And I think we should finally talk about the end, which is what I think of when I think of this. Like, I am aware of how this film goes balls out ballistics at the end. And the comedy of it seems to have created an entire strain of like British countryside, like old folks bringing out the guns. And like, I think of Guy Ritchie after Hot Fuzz, and he had nothing to do with it. It seems like this is what he's working on or working towards the
Farmers and
black of his
Farmersmen.
career. Or like fucking Argyle and Kingsman. It all seems to stem from this to the comedy out of, oh, it's so unexpected for, you know, the horticulturist to pop out an Uzi or whatever. And I think it's just so well made in that there is innate comedy in the tension between the person holding the gun and the gun. And the setting of it all, this bucolic countryside. But it's played and directed as the end of an action film. I mean, you can track the evolution of police actioner from, you know, from Dirty Harry to fucking John Woo to, you know, throughout the 90s action in America to what he's doing here and how this is actually influenced not even like a certain kind of action comedy, but the action filmmaking being so comedy afflicted, I will say, in sense. But it's because he largely plays it straight with a few little jokes here and there.
Yeah, I mean, I think what works is what Alex was talking about earlier, which is the incredible editing and sound design. Like the way that, and again, this is one of the things that tricky place between, are you parodying or are you exemplifying? The way that the sound design, not only for that action sequence, but for pretty much everything from the moment the film starts, is treating every like gesture, every time a character gestures with an object, it makes a sound. It has a kind of like cartoon sound design quality to it that plays a little bit like we're parodying the idea that, you know, anytime a character brandishes a gun or a knife in an action movie, it has to make a sound, right? Like, it's not realistic, but it's just part of the action lexicon. But Wright leans into it with such gusto and no sense that he's showing contempt for that impulse in action filmmaking. To show like the fact that ballpoint pens make that sound when a character gestures with it, just shows how much affection he has for that kind of hyper real Bayham style cinema. I mean, there's a rhythm to his editing, I think, too. Wright has also dabbled in music videos, right? So like there is a definite, and you know, it's exemplified really in Baby Driver, but there's that idea that the form of the film is in some ways meant to feel rhythmic, right? Like the film has its rhythms, and it's been that all the Cornetto trilogies like that, but a lot of Wright cinema is like that, right? That he edits and sound designs and directs in a way that feels percussive, if for lack of a better word.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. Our friend Pete Timmerman was talking to us. I think it was you and me, Alex, before screening. We were kind of talking about how we were going to talk about this, and you know, Pete said that he's one of the best working right now with sound, and I think it's because of the sound and image, like this kind of percussive and very rhythmic filmmaking that he has, that would lead to this kind of soundscape, and especially in a stereo sense.
Yeah, I think it's funny at the first scene of the movie when Bill Nighy's like, when he's talking about that he can disappear people because he's a chief inspector. Like there's a little eye twitch, and then there's a little like printer sound in the background. Like there's a lot of that. It's just like, yeah, that's yep. Did you see that?
Yes, it's so good. It's on his part, but also like just the I mean, a lot of this could be taken for being pro cop. This movie is definitely not ACAB, which is true, everyone. ACAB. That's my official stance. But this, it is the bureaucracy of it all is very clearly part of the joke in it.
Yeah,
I think it's
and
almost inverted propaganda, right? In the sense that Angel is presented as like the one good cop, but not in the usual like anti-hero way that we get with that subgenre, right? He's not Dirty Harry, he's not Serpico, he's something else. He's the
He's like the perfect
he's the
paperwork guy.
Yeah, he's the guy who is bought into the propaganda and has believed in it 100%, despite the fact that he's surrounded by incompetence, bureaucracy,
Yes.
mediocrity. The idea, I mean, like there's something subversive about, there is an angle in which this film is sort of propaganda, and it ends on this like weirdly fascist note where they're going to go beat up hippies at the recycling bin. But there is this weird impulse in the film that where like we can't have a good cop hanging around here showing how bad we are. It's like,
right, exactly. That's what I mean. Like you can't really have a cop protagonist be this good a person and be completely anti-cop. But this film is very aware of how shit cops are. I like when he first goes to check into the hotel of the village, and is it Billy Whitelaw? Yeah. She's an old British actress, and the cast of this is incredible. The people who pop up, and she's doing her crossword puzzle, which is like a joke that happens a lot, and then people get confused about, are you talking to me? You're doing your crossword, and she just goes fascist, and it's such a good joke, and his retort with hag or six down.
yeah,
can we talk about the cast? So I'm staring at the eyes of Janine, the ex-girlfriend, and because she's a crime scene investigator, and everyone in here, it's such a good joke, is like head to toe gear, what do you call it,
like the Tyvek suit with the mask and everything.
Exactly. And I'm staring at the eyes and listening to that voice, and I'm like, I know those eyes have pierced through my soul before. Who the fuck is that? It's Cate Blanchett.
Are you kidding me? I did not know that.
Yeah. It's Cate Blanchett. And other people who pop up in uncredited roles like Garth Jennings and Peter Jackson.
Santa.
It's such a who's who of like contemporaneous British comedy. But I didn't. Andrew, you sent me a message about Olivia Colman, young Olivia Colman, kind of playing like, I'm sorry to use this word, like slag, like cop, but she's so fucking funny.
She has like 12 lines in the entire movie, and every one of them is like innuendo. It absolutely was sending me. I'd completely forgotten that she's in this movie. She makes a joke. She makes maybe my favorite joke in the entire movie, which is like almost a background joke, where she's at the church fundraiser looking at a pig on a spit, like a luau style pig, and she says, "Looks like me after a few beers on Saturday night." That's future Oscar.
At it. She knows how funny she is.
Yeah, she knows how funny she is. That she gets to be the office slag, like that's part of her joke. But the fact that it's future Oscar winner Olivia Colman making that joke is just absolutely sent me.
And Patty Considine and Rafe Spall as the Andes.
Yeah, they're incredible.
They're so good. Timothy Dalton is like evil James Bond. I mean, he's doing that, and he's so charming. But the meme of the airplane joke of him with his picture in the same pose behind him. That's just really great stuff. But there's people like Bill Bailey, who plays twins, right?
Yeah.
Twin
he does. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's supposed to be a joke. I will say that my like actual criticism is like, this is a new like Airplane, 30 Rock, Simpsons. It's almost gag a minute. It might be like gag every 2 minutes. Not everything works. Not everything is funny, but that's the kind of comedy that I want to be watching because I want to laugh like this, and this is a film that had me laughing in a way that I haven't in quite some time, and for
Mhm.
that I appreciate it.
Yeah, and yeah, again, I think it is just really important to underline the, like, I mean, I love, like, Airplane and Naked Gun as well, but, like, I'm not convinced that those really, like, stand apart from their jokes in a way, but, like, Hot Fuzz is kind of its own thing, it's not just the jokes, but they are
Yeah,
building towards something,
it's
building
not.
towards
Yeah,
this unique kinda genre mashup that I
Well,
feel
it's
like
better
we
filmmaking. I don't
yeah.
think like I love Airplane, but I don't think you can argue that Airplane is great filmmaking. This
I
is Edgar Wright.
would. I would. I mean, because it's doing its one thing really well, and it's great comedy filmmaking.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
they've learned how to tell a joke in this, but that's not the only thing that they're after here.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
what they're after here is really they understand the genre that they are sensibly setting up, but also doing an homage to. And I think they understand it really well. I mean, there are like Tony Scott moments, there are Tarantino moments, there are very kind of specific filmmaking salutes in this that I think are really great. There's also just like little lines here and there, like what does he say? Forget it. He
Yeah.
does the Chinatown
Stanford.
joke.
Forget
Yeah,
it. It's Stanford. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, but, like, and even for how funny the movie is, it's also kind of horrifying just how, like, just the ultimate conspiracy at the heart of it, like, he has this elaborate explanation, but it's ultimately just, like, this really all this petty shit that they just do not wanna deal with, and Jim Broadbent even says that he's gonna make Sanford great again as well.
Okay, that was the one note I had written down and thought that that is kind of the key to this film is like it is all of this the personal is political, and I mean that in a way like that we typically the inverse of how we typically talk about that, and that really the supremacy, and I mean this movie doesn't really get into race at all, but
It does touch on it because there is a thing about travelers
Mhm.
in Roma.
oh yeah, you're right,
Yeah.
you're right, I'm not giving
Crusty
it credit
jugglers. Crusty
there.
jugglers.
Yeah, and the G words bandied about, I think a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is how, supremacy is born. Is out of these small like entitlements or what you might think is small, but
Yeah.
once that kind of conspiracy gets rolling together, that's how these people find their power.
But I also like that it's about aesthetics. Like they're just
Yeah.
offended by the bad theater. They're offended by the non-rustic giant McMansion. Like the commitment of the rural Brits to their aesthetic is just led them straight to murder, apparently.
Yeah, and even at the end, like, you can see a new poster they have up for new Romeo and Juliet with new cast members at the end too.
Well, he was an extra in Prime Suspect. He's a real
Alright.
actor.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's interesting kind of I mean, I feel like the movie, as we talked about a little bit, like, it starts out kind of mocking Nicholas Angel, but then we're kind of on I mean, the movie is on his side by the end, I will say. And he's kind of like the leader that the community needs as well because all the people in the station are kind of just held over with cake and ice cream and stuff.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
but
he
like
does
but
have
like
a
you
narrative arc. Like he has a
yeah.
character arc and he does change in the end. And in the end, they're both sort of tempering each other, him versus the rest of the police there in the town, because he's a lot more relaxed, even though he does get that kind of shock surprise in the end.
Yeah, there it is a little bit ambiguous about how much he's kind of given into the action movie fantasy in a way. I guess they leave that kind of ambiguous.
He still insists on the paperwork. That's the
Yeah.
breaking of the cinematic spell, right?
But
That
but it's not like a compulsion as much as it is in the beginning. Like,
no.
and even, like, when he's, like, in the bar and he's, like, kicking out all the underage drinkers there, it's kind of like he just can't not say anything. It's like the light just randomly shines in
Can't-
his face. I think
can't
that's
turn it off.
that might be my favorite scene in the movie, actually. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
think there
it
would be
just
an impulse in other
Yeah.
filmmakers to make this happen through a romance, but ultimately it happens through,
It is a romance of a kind. You don't buy a Japanese peace lily for your partner
For
and
a
best
man?
friend. Yeah, for
Well,
a man.
is it gay to buy a Japanese peace lily for another man? No, it's not.
I just love the implication that Angel, like when Angel, like, what are you doing tonight? Well, I'm tending my peace lily. Like the idea that that's going to take up his entire night.
right.
Maybe it does. All right, Andrew, I think it's time.
Yeah.
Alex, I'm going to say Alex did his best to even like preemptively sway me, sending me like YouTube links. Okay, so this wasn't, it was Alex, can you
The
tell
greater
me?
good. Remember the greater good.
So I mean, on YouTube, it was probably on the DVD too. I would imagine that's its source. This Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg breaking down how they came to create this film, especially in the scripting stage, and looking through their like white flipboard of how they structured it, how the jokes came from the structure, how the jokes came from character is a really fascinating thing. Ultimately, I'm a film critic who cares about the end result. Good job, Alex. He tried. He tried. This one, I'm going to save a vote. I think this is one that would grow on me. So maybe you can throw this at me in a year or two and when I've watched it again. But I'm going to save a vote. I'm going to see if Andrew is going to save this film and finally use a fucking vote. No pressure.
I think what it comes down for me is every time I rewatch Hot Fuzz, I really enjoy it, but it isn't in my like top 3 Edgar Wright films even. So I feel like I need to save an Edgar Wright slot for another film I feel stronger about, if that makes sense.
You're gonna really disappoint Alex. It's on you. You see how I set this up?
Yeah,
it's on you.
I make me the bad guy.
You're the bad guy.
We've never really had we never established a rule that like one director per the vault, one film per director per the vault. But I feel
like it's emerging though.
I feel like that kind of affected my feelings towards Signs last week when we talked about that.
Well, no offense to Billy Rock, but I think this is a much better film than Signs. And Signs is a film that I've watched a lot. But I need to build a personal relationship with this one. But it does feel like a film that I could watch with friends like over and over again.
Yeah. If I had to pick, it's going to be Scott Pilgrim or World's End for me. If I have to pick a Wright film to add to the vault, it's not.
Well, what's the number 3 now that we're building?
Probably Sean or Baby Driver. I think I like Baby Driver more than Alex. I revisited it not too long ago, and the presence of certain people notwithstanding, it's just a banger beginning to end. I love car chases, so that helps a lot.
Oh my God, there are so many certain people in Baby Driver.
That's
crazy.
That's why I'm been a little hesitant to go back.
Little cast. Is this your number 1 Edgar Wright?
Yeah, for sure. This actually is my favorite movie of all time.
Oh my God. I love you, Alex. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But
I will say that the thing that I love about Hot Fuzz is that when I do revisit it, I'm reminded about how tight it is and how good it is and how gory it is. Like it's one of those, I haven't watched it 20 times or anything. I've watched it just infrequently enough to be re-surprised by its ingenuity and its density over and over again, which I think is a really good place for a film to be sort of reinvigorating you every time you watch it. But it isn't a top Wright film for me. I could go on at length for why The World's End is this dark horse best at the Cornetto trilogy, but we'll save that for another day.
Yes, I feel like we could probably do an hour on that one. Alex, what's the rest of your Wright list?
I probably put Shaun of the Dead number 2, then World's End, Scott Pilgrim, Baby Driver, Last Night in Soho.
Are we missing one?
Don't, of course.
Oh, don't.
Does that
Don't
count?
might be my number one because I'm a weirdo.
He made a Sparks Brothers documentary. That was a.
Oh yeah,
It wasn't.
what I'm
It wasn't
thinking.
great.
That
It was
was
a,
okay. It was fine.
It was exactly
Yeah.
what it should be, which is a good introduction to Sparks for people who hadn't like been deeply immersed in them from the beginning. It was no Todd Haynes' Velvet Underground. Let's just say that.
When does Running Man come out?
Soon, right?
Yeah, in a couple weeks, I think.
When do we get to see it? Do we know?
Haven't seen anything yet.
I don't think they've said yeah.
Well, I'm really interested in to see how his Running Man remake, reimagining. I mean, it has to be kind of his own thing. And they're not really putting Edgar Wright at the fore of the marketing there, which has never really been a huge draw. I mean, he has like a really ardent and large fan base, but he's not like a Tarantino where people are going to go see the new Tarantino.
Yeah.
I mean, even Paul Thomas Anderson isn't anything to the public at large, as I'm learning and telling people to go see one apple after another. They're like, it looks
Who?
dumb. I'm like, it's Paul Thomas Anderson. I don't care what the trailer is, you dumbass. Oh, sorry. I feel passionately about that one.
We got that one. We got that.
Get that. You guys get that.
It looks more Wright's version looks way more faithful to the novel, which I'm really excited to see how that pans out. Because we talked about this when we were talking about The Long Walk, that
That's right.
the original Richard Bachman, the original novel, which he wrote under Richard Bachman pseudonym in, I believe, the late 70s or early 80s, is so dramatically different from the Schwarzenegger version. I'm eager to see a more faithful adaptation, which just based on the trailers, it looks like this is. So,
I mean, the original version is definitely a Schwarzenegger movie, but it is a good movie. It is a good time.
yeah, that's not me slamming the Schwarzenegger Running Man. It's more of just I'm interested to see. I thought that the King approach was more interesting in that
I'm sure.
it's not bound in the novel, and apparently in the new film, it's not bounded by like the play space of the game show is not like a wrestling ring where it's not an obstacle course. It's not American Ninja Warrior. It's literally more like Amazing Race or something where he can go anywhere and do anything. So
that'll be coming in the next few weeks. So this is your little appetizer for the Running Man. Alex, thank you so much for coming again and for us for breaking your heart one more time.
Oh no, thank you guys.
I think we're gonna have to go back to Wright at some point. Just like
definitely. I can't imagine that he won't come up again. Alex, where can people find you?
You can find my reviews at poplifestl.com.
Hell yeah. All right. Thanks again, Alex.
Well, thank you.
All right. We'll go ahead and do one more thing.
Oh, you know what? Something I'd never noticed before that I would notice when I was watching it this week is that Danny hasn't unpacked his house at all, but his film collection is like impeccably stored and designed. Like I have never, as a cinephile, I never really related to Danny as a character except in his cinephilia. Like, so the house can be shit. You can be living in a man cave, but if that film collection has to be peerlessly curated.
You know that I had to really resist pausing to go through the collection because
read all the spines.
Yeah, reading all the spines.
I don't have an exciting one more thing. Mine's very boring and nerdy, but
mine's boring and nerdy too. All right. Every episode, we round out with one more thing we're going to recommend. I'll go ahead and go first this time. I'm Joshua Ray. Did you know that? I'm at OK Josh Ray on social media. At the Take Up. That's the Take Up STL on social media. I'm on KMOV every week. That's the local CBS affiliate here. This week, I was on twice talking about St. Louis made film Soul on Fire. And then talking about some other new releases. I'm not going to say anything mean about Soul on Fire at all. I would never say anything mean about it. The thing I want to recommend is the YouTube channel Be Kind Rewind. They have been around for a few years. This is projects of a female film critic. I'm like
she's semi incognito. Her name is Izzy.
Yeah. So the @ is actually BK Rewind, but She has one of the loveliest voices and one of the smartest series of YouTube videos out there. She references Karina Longworth a lot as a resource, and I would put her in line with Karina Longworth, but I think she's actually a better critic, and focuses more on criticism and doesn't get into the kind of like winking, nudging, gossipy, which I enjoy way of Karina Longworth. She's done a really great video that just came out probably a month or two ago about Todd Haynes' Superstar, the Karen Carpenter story. That is his first, I guess you can consider it narrative. I think it's 47 or feature length. It's 47 minutes. A film you can't see. That's infamously the Karen Carpenter story made with Barbies, but she made her video about it with Barbies. So adding layers on layers of meaning. But it's really great in that she understands and researches the history around everything. And through a critical viewpoint, she goes long on a lot of topics. A lot of her first videos were all jumping off of best actress races. There's a really great one on the 1950 best actress race. That was the year Gloria Swanson was nominated for Sunset Boulevard, Betty Davis for All About Eve, and ultimately Judy Holliday won for Born Yesterday. But she gets into the like politics of the time, but also talking about those films as films, those performances as performances. But she's gotten into as diverse topics as the Princess Grace biopic that was made with Nicole Kidman, but that is also about hashtag Me Too and the Weinstein Company at the time. To whereas she's gotten into Lindsay Lohan's Elizabeth Taylor biopic, but she's talking about Lindsay Lohan's career and how it kind of mirrors and doesn't mirror Elizabeth Taylor's. And the really
lot of great coverage of actresses past and present in here.
Yeah.
Like just deep dive stuff on particular actresses and filmmakers.
And this
of these, I have seen
as a figure. I mean, there's one about the making of Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis too. There's a lot of variety in there. And you said sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You'd seen what?
No, I was gonna say I've seen literally one of these, and I saw it outside the context of knowing about this creator, but I've seen her Shelley Duvall episode, which is really good.
Yeah, I get mad at my YouTube because eventually, if you just let it play long enough and always kind of have something on, I have seen that fucking YouTube video on Shelley Duvall 1 million times. But it's okay because like I get to walk past the TV and she's talking about 3 minutes. So but that's BK Rewind, Be Kind Rewind, improper on YouTube. What about you, Andrew?
My week has been boring, so I don't have a ton of new stuff. I'm still playing Ghost of Yokai. Let's say that.
But you're not boring.
I do want to advocate for something. So I'm not a super handy guy, like tech-wise, like being able to handle electronics, fix things, and so forth. But I think we can all agree that like our late capitalist nightmares shuddering to a place where planned obsolescence of objects of consumer products is just sort of planned now, and there's a lot of times we feel like there's nothing we can do about it. And I'm not super handy about fixing things that have broken, so I've personally been victim of my blender's broke, I guess I'll just check it out and buy a new one. But recently I've been trying to get better, particularly about computer consumer products, about repairing things that break. So I just want to advocate for the website iFixit, which is sort of a self-repair, right to self-repair advocacy and how-to wiki about pretty much doing anything you want with any piece of consumer electronics you can imagine. I've only used their resources for really basic stuff. I've repaired an old PlayStation 3 drive that wasn't working. I've installed components into my PlayStation 5. I just recently changed the battery on my PlayStation 5 controllers, which Sony does not want you to do. So just doing sort of basic upkeep and maintenance and extending the life of your products in an age when everything is getting more expensive and companies are increasingly trying to get you to throw things out and replace them as fast as possible. I do recommend iFixit. They're very militant, sort of like pro self-repair. So like they hate Apple in general and just try to advocate against it. I'm not sort of advocating for all of their right to repair advocacy positions, but I do think that the site is sort of a gold mine of, if you look up, how do I do this thing that I'm not supposed to do as a consumer to my device, they're really good about that. And I also want to specifically recommend dropping the money on their ProTech Go toolkit, which includes among other things like a whole host of micro screwdriver fittings for all kinds of oddball components and strange tools that you don't have any idea what they're for when you first glance at them, but you will find to be pretty essential for doing basic consumer tasks.
Oh my God, the bits in their screwdriver this has got me going. The tweezers.
I bought this kit about 5 years ago when I built my desktop computer.
Yeah.
First time I've ever really built a computer from components. And this was recommended to me as sort of an essential piece of that. And it's really served me really well in the years since about doing these sort of small repairs. So again,
these plastic wedge tools that everyone should have, but they don't want you to have them.
Yeah, really simple things. You would not believe how difficult it is to pry open a PlayStation 5 controller, even with all these tools.
Would believe that.
So anyway, just advocating for doing a little. Again, if you're not super tech heady, don't be intimidated by it. I'm not really great with my hands with these sort of things, but I've learned how to do it, learned by doing. And the WikiHows and the YouTube videos are obviously there's a huge amount of resources out there. So yeah. Go get yourself a kit, and next time, instead of throwing something out, try to do it yourself.
I am like this with cosmetic stuff on my car now. Mm-hmm. Once you discover that everything in the world is kind of just snapped together and can be very easily pried apart to be unsnapped and resnapped again, y'all, you are getting just, it's highway robbery.
Mm-hmm.
These people. It's highway robbery to fix these things. It's insane. Anyway, I am also now pro iFixit.com. I got this Tech Go toolkit in the cart already.
It's totally worth it. I bought one for my workplace. I loved it so much. On the company account, I said, we need one of these at the office. So.
Amazing. That consumer.
You can find me at thetakeup.com.
So then I want to thank Ethan Tarantella for helping edit and produce the show, Kayla McCullough for our social media, theme music by AMP. And yeah, until then, we're going to have a mad monster party.